A very good afternoon to one and all seated there in the Latvian University. I would like to start with thanking the organizers and by expressing my gratitude towards my mentor, Dr. Chinmay Pandyaji, Pro Vice Chancellor, Deva Sanskrit University, and thanking my guide, Professor Abhay Saxena ji, who is the head of department, Computer Science, Deva Sanskrit University. I, Gopalki Sharma, am representing Deva Sanskrit University, Haridwar, Uttarakhand, situated in the lap of Mother Ganges and the foothills of Great Himalayas. I would like to start by thanking once again the organizers and by thanking them for giving us an opportunity to participate in this India-Latvia conference, where actually the subjects facilitated us to write something very special for this conference. Again, the great global intelligentsia present over there is churning a lot of knowledge for the welfare of humanity. So after the opening ceremony in this very first session based on interpretations of cultural traditions in the contemporary world, according to the theme, I am going to present my research paper, which is titled A Study of Consciousness from the Epochs of Human Towards Computers. I am from the field of computer science, but basically I have tried to relate the things which has been in the ancient wisdom, what was there, what is at present, and how we can correlate the things for the future of the humanity. The basic objective of this research paper is the problem of consciousness, which has baffled thinkers for centuries. With the progress in the field of science and technology, it has taken a new turn. Investigating the construct through modeling, simulation, or simply by integrating studies of various disciplines to identify basic elements and to get operational definition for human and computers perspective is the prime objective of the study. The method which has been opted for this particular study is exploratory study through literature survey and experience survey. When we talk about consciousness studies, we see that in this embryonic stage, it is the first scientific revolution of the 21st century, where studies in consciousness which directly relates to the more immediate, tangible world of our experience. Researchers of different disciplines attempt to answer this enigma of consciousness, and computer science looks into the problem as an opportunity for better understanding of consciousness and to work out a way possible to model it for computers too. When we talk about technology or computers, we try to bring our thought to the contemporary world. The early things were the knowledge kept in various literatures in the minds of people, but at present in computers we try to bring all those knowledge and we try to apply it. That is why this particular research is presented in this very first session in this theme, where we are trying to relate with the contemporary knowledge. When we talk about consciousness in humans perspective, we try to refer consciousness as individual's awareness of your unique thoughts, memories, feelings, sensations, and environment. The other type of definition which has been given for consciousness in humans perspective says that it is the state of being aware of and responsive to one's surrounding, a people's awareness or perception of something. It varies from person to person and time to time. Our conscious experience are constantly shifting and changing. This is how we try to identify consciousness in the perspective of humans. When we try to explore the concept of human consciousness further, we see it as a basic model which has been presented in the ancient yoga science, the yoga psychology, and it actually depicts the levels of consciousness. Like we are living in a physical world. In this physical world, as a human being, when I see consciousness in the form of my senses, in the form of my action organs, and the form of the gross elements present amidst me. When we talk about sense organs, it's like ears, skin, eye, tongue, nose. Action organs, hands, feet, mouth, genitals, anus. And gross elements, ether, air, fire, water, and earth. All these things actually makes us feel that we are conscious. When we talk about mental level at very basic level is our sensory motor mind, which is our manasa, which actually integrates and relates with our sense organs and action organs at physical level. When we move a bit higher, we talk of ego, that is ahankar. A bit higher than ego is called higher mind, that is called buddhi. Parallel to that, the gross elements and the further other things related with the physical world and the body further yields to our sensations, that is hearing, touch, sight, taste and smell, and that is known as our potential energy called tanmatras. A bit higher than mental level, which is close to subtle level, is our higher mind, and various gunas of sat, raj and tam, which actually drives all other sensations, sense organs, action organs and other things in a human being. The subtle form of the level of consciousness actually depicts us the mind, the chit ahankara, manifestation center of consciousness. And when we move a step ahead, we see a bidirectional relation between soul and consciousness, and there we see the different attributes, and at a bit more higher level, non-human level, there we see the two ultimate reality powers of the world known as consciousness, self, spirit and purusha, and matter called prakriti, and the ultimate reality in the form of Brahma we see here. This is how the great yoga literature has depicted the consciousness in human perspective. Moving further, seeing the stuff of consciousness, it has been defined as body as a separate part, which is having actions and sense organs, which is interacting with the world, which is in bidirectional relation with the conscious mind through breath. The conscious mind further divided into unconscious mind with active and latent part, that in all is a part of Prakriti. And moving further, we see Purusha, which is in itself is a question which is trying to integrate, relate with these things. When we see other aspect of consciousness in universal force, we see it as in consciousness and matters are the two ultimate reality part of the world, which is absolute. The projection of matter is in the form of consciousness, or we can say the projection of consciousness is in the form of matter. The reflection of matter further leads toward universal mind, and all together they lead towards personal mind. So it actually shows the relation of an entity with the whole world. Anume Vibhu Lagume Mahan. These are the sayings of the Vedas. When we see in the contemporary world the early developments in the field of ideas of consciousness, as Sigmund Freud tried to explain it as the iceberg illustration, where he tried to define consciousness at conscious level, pre-conscious level, subconscious level and libido level. These are some operational parts of consciousness in which we try to devise the conscious, subconscious and unconscious level. All the types are from the perspective of humans. Moving further towards the computer's perspective, there we see the very first interesting thing, artificial consciousness, sometimes level-led machine consciousness, is the attempt to model and implement those aspects of human cognition which are identified with the often elusive and controversial phenomena of consciousness. Controversial phenomena of consciousness means they are different definitions of consciousness. So we are roaming one part to another part, but actually artificial consciousness is trying to model the things. The aim of the theory of artificial consciousness is to define that which would had to be synthesized were conscious to be found in an engineering artifact. They are basically trying to model the consciousness in engineering artifacts, in machines or in computers. In computer's perspective, consciousness can be synonymous, can be called artificial consciousness, computer consciousness or machine consciousness. When we try to devise the types of computer consciousness, on one side we talk about phenomenal consciousness and a functional consciousness. If we basically see the terms phenomena and function, the phenomenal part comes from the basic architecture, how our brain is made up of. Neural various connections are there, cross connections are there. So this part of artificial consciousness talks about the physical level, like how we can simulate that structure into computers to achieve the artificial consciousness. The functional level talks about more functional things, the functions which are related with consciousness, the attributes of consciousness which we can model in computers. The other type of division which is related with the problem of artificial consciousness is strong and weak. Basically, artificial consciousness in itself has taken as a part of problem of computers perspective. If we see certain parts which are solvable through computers, we put it in weak artificial consciousness, which are unsolvable or seems like that can not be solvable immediately, we put it in strong artificial consciousness part. But it is not always mandatory that a thing which is in strong AC cannot be solved. It can be solved, but at present it is not looking like solvable. Moving further, a very interesting thing which comes when we talk about consciousness in artificial perspective. So here it is very interesting to know the meaning of the term artificial. In first form, the term artificial denotes a human artifact that replicated or simulated a real thing. For example, an artificial flower. So natural flower has been replicated or simulated as an human artifact, and we had made an artificial flower. So the first form of that definition of the term artificial looks like this. In the second form, the term artificial is used to denote a genuine physical phenomena reproduced using a human-made device, like it is artificial light. We have natural light and we have device in artificial light in the form of bulb, tube lights. So in the same way, we here see the phenomenal and functional part of artificial consciousness in it. But the very interesting and very remarkable thing is that it does not necessarily try to reproduce human consciousness as such. Insofar, human consciousness could be unique due to a complex series of cultural, social and biological conditions. So parallelly, when we try to study consciousness in the perspective of humans, we got to know these things. When we talk about consciousness in computers, we seclude ourselves from these cultural, social and biological conditions. When we try to find out some computational correlates of consciousness, like the correlates through which we see that consciousness can be modeled in computers, the first and very strong area that comes out is artificial neural networks. Neural correlates of consciousness can be simulated through ANN, and this simulation can tend possesses consciousness in computer and machine. It actually talks about the kind of neural structure naturally which is there in our brain can be programmed, can be hardwired, coded in the chips, and that can be further at a speed of quantum, which is further mentioned, quantum computing. The ANN network supplemented with the speed of quantum computing can lead this possibility a leap ahead. So these are the computational correlates of consciousness in the computer's perspective of consciousness. Moving further, when we see consciousness talk about humans and computers, the basic difference which comes is, when we talk about human consciousness, there we talk about biological neurons. When we talk about artificial consciousness or computer consciousness, there we talk about artificial neurons. The neurons which are actually being coded on chipsets through hardware codings. Human correlates are there in human consciousness, computational correlates are there in computer consciousness. Human consciousness is natural and computer consciousness is artificial. From all these studies, what we try to conclude, the result and discussions and conclusion is here, that human and computer consciousness are not the same. We have to understand that these two things are not the same. Computer consciousness is not an attempt to create human consciousness. Again, this thing is very interesting, which came as in conclusion. We are not recreating or creating human consciousness in computers. Human consciousness looks at all the perspective of consciousness, and the definitions are more subjective, where computer consciousness attempts to look at operational definitions which actually can be logically simulated and coded into machines. Human consciousness area is a very wide area. Different researchers are researching on it. In the same way, computer consciousness is also a wide area, but here we find the definitions are focused on logical and operational form which can be actually simulated or coded into machines. Computer and human consciousness are not vice versa, hence the area of study is clearly segregated based on evolutionary or analogical learning. We are not combining the area of computer and human consciousness. These are two separate areas of studies, but they actually contribute to the same purpose. Human consciousness is more of dependent nature, like the parameters which we talk about on biological, psychological, neurosciences, social, etc. But the computer consciousness attempts to be independent in its nature. Like when we try to program certain things into computers, it actually does not get affected by external things. Once it is programmed in the chip, then it will work like that. So in the same way, those attributes of consciousness which are essentially programmed, that can work with computer consciousness without any kind of external influence. But in human consciousness, there are various factors which actually influence the consciousness. Issues in human consciousness is more as it got affected by numerous factors. On the other side, computer consciousness will be far more lesser susceptible to other factors. This is very true. Better understanding of consciousness in both the perspective will actually contribute to the studies of consciousness in totality. The basic aim and objective of this research was to study the consciousness in humans' perspective and computers' perspective. And when we try to explore the concept of consciousness in both the perspective, the thing at the end which we will be end up with, and which gives us further motivation to do some more research into it, is that whether we are talking about consciousness from the human's perspective, whether we are talking about consciousness from the computer's perspective, but overall we are talking about consciousness. So when we try to see the things from the computational thinking, which is a new term which is evolving, we try to program the things, we try to learn from algorithmic procedures, we try to do things by step and step, we can see the things in proper modeling. So this actually gives us a better understanding of consciousness of human perspective through computers, and it is a great learning for us. So basically these are the references which we use during this study. And like last but not the least, I would like to thank you again, thank you all for listening me so patiently, and want to show my gratitude again, and want to learn from you all, because the theme of the conference and the kind of paper which I presented here is actually a great learning for me too. So I would be happy to learn from you all in this particular way. You can write to me on gopal.sharma@dsv.ac.in. and again I would like to thank you all, thank you very much, and keep guiding me. I will be happy to learn. Once again, thank you to organizers, and I am very happy and privileged to be a part of this Latvia India conference. Thank you very much.